This time on the Quick Speed Shop, I'm going to put a new stereo in the 1940 Mercury two-door sedan. I'm a professional, don't try this at home. So last time you saw me demo out all this stereo equipment out of the Mercury, taking the radio out, the XM satellite antenna part, all the amps and everything. My friend Tom's going to get all the stuff back. And since the pod under the dash is already cut for this style stereo, I had this Pioneer 4-channel, 50 watt per channel stereo. It's a good old Pioneer CD player. It's probably about 15 years old, but it'll work fine in the car. I already hooked it up to a battery and tested it. It comes on, it plays, the power and everything works just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the Mercury, and I've identified the wires, which wires go to which speakers. I got a little diagram for that. So there's only 4 speakers left in the car. There's 2 in a kick panel and 2 in a quarter panels. So we'll throw this in the car and we'll just run some new speaker wire up and wire this in, and then the car will have a basic stereo system, which I don't even usually use the stereos in most of my hot rods, or most of them don't even have radios. So since the speakers are already in the kick panels, I might as well hook them up, and there's the hole in the dash. So we're going to go ahead and throw the stereo in, just wire it up real basic so we got some tunage. If you're cruising and want to listen to tunes, you're hanging out, want to listen to tunes, we got it right here with the Pioneer. It's also got a CD player in it, so I can throw CDs in if I want to. So let's go ahead and start putting it back together in the car. Alright, so I got to get the speaker wires up front. These are the kick panels here for up front there. They've got these, I don't know, 4.5 inch or 5 inch round speakers, and there's some tweeters in there. So these will be last. Get these out of the way. Yeah. So in the quarter panels, I've got there's some more, I don't know, 6 inch round or 5 inch round speakers, and there's tweeters here. And we got the wires coming out. I'm going to have to run these up and extend them. I think the red ones are the tweeters, and the blue ones are, well, they're both red and blue. Shoot. Oh, here we go. Alright. This one's labeled tweeter, channel number 4 tweeter. And this is mid-range. Okay, so I mean, there's not going to be a woofer anymore, so the mid-range speakers are going to end up being the main 4 speakers here. And I'm not sure how it's going to sound. I'm not a stereo expert by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think I want to hook the tweeters up because I'm not sure how it would sound with just using this as a 4-channel thing. So I think I'm just going to tuck the wires up for the tweeter and leave them under the carpet, and not hook the tweeters up, and just run the mid-range wires up to the front of the car and hook that up. And then because I'm not sure how it's going to sound, so I'm just going to go ahead with the big speakers. So I need the mid-range, which is here. The tweeter, I'll just boondoggle these up and leave it under the carpet, or tuck it back up in here under here. That'll be fine. Just like factory. Leave that there for now. So I got to get this wire run back up to the front of the car. Let's come down under here, down under the carpet here, up along the way, just like it was. And the carpet will lay down, and it'll cover all this right back up when I tuck it down in here under the strip. You won't see any of the wires. So I've got a splice on. Speaker wire is not long enough, but I have a bunch of speaker wire left over from taking the stereo out, so I just got a splice on off these wires here. Use some butt connectors and some what do you call it? Some heat shrink. Just splice her together, heat shrink it up good, and then run the wires right up front. The thing I gotta do first is identify which is the positive wire and which is negative. So I'm gonna zip the speaker out of here right quick. See what the wires look like on the back side. This is so tight. Go. Alright. Good thing I did that because this wire is actually loose. Would have been chasing our tail there. The positive wire has actually come loose on this one. Alright, I thought I had to ring this out with a voltmeter here, but I don't because the wire that goes to the black has a black trace on it, which I couldn't see before. Now I see it in the light, so now I know my wires are going to be rung out correctly, and the piece of speaker wire I'm using is the same wire. It's got the black trace on it, so I can just go ahead and splice these together with some butt connectors, and I will know that this is done correctly. So I got to get enough wire to get up front here, which there's plenty. Alright, now I have identified what's what. I have the speaker for the mid-range from the other side here, from the driver's side kick panel. So I can bring that over under the carpet up here, and I can use both these speaker wires, hook them both up, and run them up the passenger's sill plate of the car and get up into the radio pod. Okay, I've run took the speaker wires and I got them all made up, and I've run the back wires up here, just taped them down to the floor like they were originally on the OG build, and I'm going to bring them up here. Now this pod is an old headlight bucket that's made in like the center console pod. This is where the radio is going to go here, so I've got to feed these speaker wires into the back, and I'm just going to pull them through the radio hole for now, and then we'll get the front kick panel. I'll remove the light. It's fighting me. So I'll just feed these through here for now, stick them out here, then we'll get the kick panels and run the wires over. Once all the wires for the speakers are here, we can make the connection for those, and then just hook up the power wires, which are here. There's constant power, and there's battery power for the radio. And then hook up a ground, and we'll be all set, ready to rock and roll, no pun intended. Alright, I got my kick panel speakers reinstalled over here. They just button back in. I've run all 4 wires through the pod here where the stereo is going to be. They're all super long right now, but I've got them labeled as to what goes where. Over there. And got the stereo. I went and I put butt connectors on all the speaker wires, so we're ready to butt connect up there. I got to get my legend that comes with this, but simply, it's going to be kind of hard to see this because you're like looking over the seat, but let me jam this back in here a little bit. In there. So the wires are coming through the pod here. I'm just going to identify them one at a time and butt connector them on to this. The plug on the back of the radio comes out, so it's easy to remove. Actually, maybe I'll just work on it that way. Get out of there! I said it was easy to remove. Did I lie? There we go. Bam! So if you ever got to take the radio out in the future, the plug can stay in the pod. So I got this. Where am I? I've got to get the nice part. Being Pioneer Radio, I was able to print out the instructions, so I got my layout for the speaker wires. So, even though it's written very small, the right rear speakers, let's see, right rear is violet. So I'm simply going to identify my colors and then take the corresponding speaker wire. Which one's right rear? Right front. Left rear. The unlabeled one is the left front. So that means over here. Where the flip is it? Right rear, here we go. So I'm simply just going to strip these back and butt connect them together, and that'll be the way to go here, right rear. So I'm going to cut it off and splice it together. Leave a little bit of extra that will stay up in the pod here. Just like the speaker wire, there's these ones are violet and violet with a black tracer, so you can keep them positive and negative just like the other wires. So I'll take the one with the black tracer first, and I'll do it that one, and then hook up the main one. I'm just going to use butt connectors to hold this together. Should be fine. Boom. So I made up my first pair of speaker wires. I'm just going to go through the other three and put them all together. And then we've got 3 power wires. The yellow wire is 12 volts all the time from the battery source. The black wire is the ground. And this little red wire here is ignition battery source. So I'm just going to go ahead and splice all these together, and then we'll slide the radio up in and see if it works. Okay, got all the wires terminated. Push the control piece back into the pod. We got our plug out pin out here, and I've got the antenna wire. So I'm just going to take the stereo, bring her over here, and it plugs in here, and the antenna plugs in here. So let's plug the antenna in. Boom, like that. Then here, this goes like this. All right, the wires are all plugged in. I just got to get these back in here. So I'm not going to click the stereo in all the way till we're all done here, but I'm just going to slide her back in a ways. So bam, everything should be good to go right now. Let me go hook up the battery, and we'll turn this on and see if we can make some tunage. Okay, so the radio won't come on until I turn the ignition on, which is here. There we go, ignition is on. Now, aha, look at that, bam! And we got noise! Somebody select a station. How do I do that? Where's tune? Let's see, whoa, 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 easy buck. Alright, bam, that's awesome. That sounds great. The antenna is actually glued up under the dash here, and it's probably why we're not getting a real good signal. I got an LED light here which makes some static, and it's under the dash. But if that antenna doesn't work, I can pull it down and maybe stick it somewhere else or put an external antenna on the car. But all the speakers sound good, and the radio actually works good. So it's also, like I said, a CD player. So if I want to cruise and have CDs, I can slap CDs in it. But got a stereo in the car, so I can just click this in the rest of the way, tighten the screws on the pod. Oops, turn the ignition off, and we'll be ready to jam the tunes down the road. One more thing before I go. This is a public service announcement. This is the fuel filter off this car, which was probably original from probably 10-12 years ago, but I wanted to show you the fuel line. Rubber doesn't last like it used to, and look at, you see this? Look how dry rotted and bad that was on both ends. So this is right down by the exhaust header. If this had ruptured, it would have sprayed gas or gas fumes right near the header. I'll show you where it used to be, but this is this way I always want to check things out every year when you get your car out. Take a look at all the rubber fuel lines, make sure they're not rotted. This car has been in storage for several years before this, so probably most of this damage happened over the storage, and the new fuels also eat rubber line. So run non-ethanol gas in your cars and be sure to check those fuel lines. Here's where that line was. Here's the header, and about 2 inches away is the fuel line. Now I I don't trust those plastic fuel filters either, so I just put a piece of straight hose in here. I'm going to get a metal filter. There's also a filter in the back before the fuel pump. It's got electric Holly fuel pump, but I'm going to put a metal fuel filter in this hose when I get one that's auto parts store is closed right now. But I've gone ahead and replaced that cracked line with a piece of rubber line that's good, and you always want to make sure you check those lines. So there we go, bam, that's a win. Got my stereo action in play, and can cruise on down the road. Still got some more coming up on this car. If you haven't watched some of the other videos, we're going to redo the whole rear suspension. The car is Pro Street right now. It's going to get all cut out because the rear end housing is broken, and get a traditional parallel leaf spring style suspension. And we're going to build this thing like a 60s hot rod flare, but there's going to be a ton of content coming out probably in September of reworking the rear frame section, building all new rear suspension, and relaying out the rear drivetrain on this car. So look forward to that. If you like this car, it's a cool car. It's going to be featured later up in the year on the channel. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe. I'm putting out new videos every Wednesday and Saturday. Hit the bell for alerts, tell your friends, and we'll see you right back here at the Quick Speed Shop, putting stereos in old hot rod sedans.